We're seeing that the national news agency Yonhap has reported that there's some kind of standoff between the investigators who are attempting to enter Yoon's residence to arrest him and some military officers. So even though Yoon has been impeached, he's still technically the sitting president, so he still has his security detail. And according to these local reports, it seems as though he has his security officers who are protecting him and who might be preventing the investigators from getting into the building that Yoon is currently in and accessing him physically. Footage from some local broadcasters showed that the investigators appear to have entered the grounds, like they'd gotten past the protesters who were all gathered on a nearby main road, and then they got into the kind of compound where Yoon lives. But it appeared as though they had not been able to get into the actual building, and that Yoon has some kind of protection around him. So it's very much still in question as to what's happening right now, and as to whether or not they'll be able to successfully execute this warrant.
And indeed, Yoon had indicated beforehand when he gave an address on television that he wouldn't be going down without a fight.
That's right. He's maintained that his decision to impose martial law was kind of reasonable, and he had his reasons for doing that, and he doesn't. His legal team have argued that the charge that he's facing of insurrection is invalid. And more specifically, one of his lawyers put out a statement on Wednesday where he said that if you look at I believe it's Article 110 of South Korea's criminal code, that stipulates that a building cannot be raided by police or by investigators if it is a place where state secrets can be stored. And, the president's residence, I think legal analysts would say it doesn't meet that standard. And so they've said from the beginning that this raid is not legitimate and that they're not going to cooperate with it in any way. So, they seem to be sticking with that position.
Now, you mentioned there the charge of insurrection. Are there any other charges that the president is facing, and what kind of penalties are there for this?
I mean, I believe that with time, the investigation will broaden and he will face a whole range of charges. But at this point, the big kind of serious charge is that of what in Korean is called 내랑, which is insurrection. And the reason that they're going with that is because as sitting president, Yoon enjoys immunity to criminal charges, but there are two exceptions to that. There's the charge of treason and the charge of insurrection. So the investigators are going with insurrection, I think not because that's the only accusation that you might face, but because it's the one that under South Korean law they are legally entitled to pursue.
Now, this is really unprecedented in South Korea. He would be the first sitting president to be arrested. What does it mean for the overall political stability of the country? Of course, his successor was also impeached. Are there any concerns over the stability and security of the country as a whole?
There certainly are. I mean, we're seeing, when it comes to the economy, we're seeing some kind of a paring back of growth projections for Korea and some uncertainty. This is a very export-led economy, and that export-led model is very kind of state-led. It relies a lot on a kind of coherent foreign policy, a lot of coherent diplomacy. And as we all know, we're nearing later this month, we will have a transition of leadership in the U.S., which is South Korea's main ally and a major trading partner. And we have a growing threat posed by North Korea, growing cooperation between North Korea and Russia when it comes to the Ukraine war. So this has not been going on for that long. I guess as of today, it's been a month. Yoon first imposed martial law on December 3rd. So if you were to just, for somebody like me who lives in South Korea, and if you just walk the streets of Seoul and you take the train or you drive around the country, you wouldn't notice any significant disruption. But I do think there is growing concern that if this standoff, if this political instability drags on, then it could have real economic and diplomatic and potentially security implications.